Hello and welcome back our dear viewers with our second guest for today. On this joyful first day of Eid Al-Fitr, we often find ourselves surrounded by festive dishes, rich sweets and traditional meals that mark the celebrations. While this is a time for enjoyment and togetherness, it's also important to consider how our choices affect our health, especially for those with conditions linked to diet. Today we are honored to welcome a distinguished expert in clinical nutrition who will guide us through these questions and help us enjoy Eid safely and mindfully. She will share practical advice on how to balance indulgence with health, how to manage sweets and calories, and the best strategies for digestive wellness during the holiday. Please join me in welcoming our guest for today, Nawal Isamil Nazar, licensed clinical dietitian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, our pleasure actually. So in the beginning, you know, like a lot of people during iftar, they bring their desserts, they bring the sweet, the coffee and everything. How could that be really risky for people?
I always try to tell my patients it is always best to eat in moderation, since our culture is very much embedded in food, especially when it comes to futur, ghabga, or even zwarat. We tend to eat a lot of food, and it's really uncommon to restrict yourself in those kind of situations, so it's always best to eat in moderation. Try to eat bites here and there.
Sometimes like the habits that we have during this ceremonies, you know, if you restrict yourself, they be like, ليش ما تاكل?
Very true.
Have more, have more. They increase it, like they
Yeah.
encourage you to even have more over your needed.
You always have to ask yourself, am I actually eating this because I'm craving this dessert or this specific food? Or am I just bored and trying to satisfy the person in front of me? You have to have these questions in your head before eating something.
That's really good, like to have some conscious decisions before taking like any
Yes.
step or having any extra bite. During, like as a dietitian, there are different cases before Ramadan and during Ramadan. What are some of the most cases that you endure?
Do you mind elaborating more with that question?
Yes, definitely. Like, you know, like before Ramadan,
Yes.
there are some people that come to you with like specific plans, maybe like for gaining weight, losing weight, or some point they have. Like, but during Ramadan, what are the most goals that people come to you with?
So during Ramadan, I feel like sometimes we tend to overeat because we've been fasting the entire day, and then during Futur we try to eat as much food as we could.
Filling
And
the stomach.
filling the stomach, feeling so full, and then you would wait like an hour or two and then start eating again.
That's if you don't have even like a coma.
Exactly. But I find some people, like when it comes to Eid, they would try to restrict their consumption because they would feel like they need to compensate with what they have been doing for the past month. So they tend to restrict their consumption. But sometimes people don't realize that when you have been eating so much food for such a long time and then you would restrict, this actually would activate a never-ending cycle of eating so much food and then restricting. And then you would go back again, eat so much food, and then restrict again. And that would actually deplete the natural hormones we have in our body that controls the hunger and fullness levels in our body.
And even sometimes like for the digestive system, right? If you just like shock it with a bunch or like a big meal, that could lead like to some negative impacts.
Yes, it actually dysregulates the metabolism, and it reduces the digestion in your body.
So how it's like important during Eid to extend the period and to have time allowance between meals, especially like during Eid?
I honestly feel like sometimes it is easier during Eid because you have like it's usually right after Salat. You would have the breakfast with your family, and then there's like hours in between, and then you would have lunch. Usually there's like some sort of buffet at Tazwara or something, and that actually allows some time in between, if that makes any sense. You usually like would pray, you would sit with your family, and that actually helps you wait in between those meals compared to Ramadan where the time is kind of restricted.
Yes,
you only
exactly.
have like 6 to like 3 a.m. approximately.
It makes your stomach and like the digestive system even like more comfortable.
Exactly.
And they can like digest on their own paces.
Yeah.
That's
very
really
true.
amazing. And since we are talking about food, you know, sometimes like people when they go to a restaurant, they give you like different options. Some of them like, for example, say chicken. They say like fried chicken. Some people prefer grilled chicken. Does the way food is cooked affect the percentage of fat in the food?
Definitely. It actually So if you look at different components or like different methods to utilize cooking, like grilling or broiling or even sometimes baking, the fat component is actually less. So the absorption would be less. But if you look at something like deep frying, the fat content is increased by a lot. So the absorption would actually be diminished and depleted. So you always have to keep in mind in how you prepare the foods. It is also, if you, let's say, go to a restaurant and ask for a well-done steak.
Well done.
Yes.
That's my favorite choice, by the way.
Sometimes when you overcook meats, you're actually reducing the nutrients that's available in that specific meat.
Interesting.
Yes. So you always have to keep that in mind. It's not just the way you cook the meals, it's
fat.
even how long you cook it for.
Okay, so it can take like some of the important ingredients out of it.
Yes.
So I would say like then the next time he asks me, I should say like medium rare.
Yeah. Or maybe you can like try gradually, medium well and then medium.
See which one is more beneficial, huh?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. What are some of like the harmful effects of like soft drinks, especially like after, you know, eating?
So research actually claims that soft drinks raises blood sugar levels, and it actually deregulates the metabolism system. So what does that mean? Let's say you eat a fatty meal, like fast food, for example, and you would drink Pepsi, 7-Up, whatever it may be. It actually delays the metabolism in your body, and it would make you feel fuller quicker.
Okay.
And then what happens then? You overeat in an hour, which may induce obesity. So if you just drink one can of soft drink by itself, sure, yes, it contains a lot of, what is it called? It contains a lot of sugar, added sugars. But if you add it with another meal and you do it continuously, you're actually harming yourself. So you always have to be mindful. I don't like to say that this is good and this is bad. Like, oh,
like black or white.
No, it's not black and white.
There's like a gray area,
yes, gray
with moderation.
Area. Moderation is always the answer.
Interesting, because like I have a habit still till now, like every time I finish like a meal, I will have a Diet Pepsi.
Yes.
You know? So that sometimes like I feel my stomach becoming like bloating. Is that the reason why?
Yes, it makes you feel full. You're not actually full, you just feel that you're full.
And since we are talking about drinking, you know, another habit people have, like especially during Eid.
Yes.
After you finish any meal, they're like, hey, how about we have green tea so we can digest the food that we just ate? How accurate is that?
So actually it is pretty accurate.
So it's not a myth?
It is not a myth, but so in, research actually claims that green tea contains this component known as catechins, and this actually helps regulating metabolism and also fat oxidation. However,
okay. 3 lines, however.
Yes, however, you can't expect to eat a large meal and then drink green tea right afterwards, expecting it to be some miracle cure. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to make you lose weight, but it will help regulate metabolism. Yeah.
So when you go like to bed, you feel like comfortable?
Yes, yes.
That's really good to know. And what is like the condition for diet like after Eid? Because you know, like after Eid, some people take it like as a new start for their journey. So what's your intake on that?
I feel like people always try to find a reason to start a new journey, whether it be New Year's Eve, whether it be Ramadan. But they never actually
ended, huh?
Yeah, they never actually continue. Because they're very much like, okay, khalas, I'm going to stop doing my old habits and I'm going to try the new ones. But we're human beings. That never really actually works. You have to gradually modify your lifestyle, and then it would actually work. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just expect everything to change overnight.
Whether it be
with food or even like going to the gym. You can't be like, I've never exercised in my life. Khalas, tomorrow I'm going to start weightlifting. You can't. It has to be gradual.
Gradual. That's really very important advice for a lot of people who are believing to start their new journey, like in food and wherever they want to have diet, etc. Start immediately and start with small steps, as our dietitian here, Nawal Isamil Nazar, have mentioned, licensed clinical dietitian. Thank you and much appreciation for your time, for your effort, and also for the beautiful information that you just shared about diet.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.
It's our pleasure. And now, dear viewers, we're going to take a quick break and then we're going to be back. Stay tuned.